So in the last video, we added this params and the query decorators, right? And we are able to read the params and the query from the URL, right? So this we completed. Now, if you see this create book, okay, here we are not passing any query or any params. Here we are passing a full body, right? So now our next target is to be able to read this information, right? Okay, so how can we do that? So again, I want to introduce you to another decorator that we will be writing, and this will be the body decorator. Okay, and here I can say a book. Okay, now what will be the type of this book? Okay, that is the question. Earlier, param, it could be a number, it could be a string, it could be boolean, primitive type, right? But body, I cannot represent as a primitive type, right? It has to be of a certain type, right? Now, what is that type? That type is called as a DTO. DTO means data transfer object. It's fancy term for having the data type on this handler. Okay, so here I want to have a type of say create book DTO. Okay, now why create? Because in this update also I want to have a DTO, right? Why? Because update is also supposed to take a body similar to this create, right? So I'm naming it as create book DTO, right? So this is nothing but a mapping of this object that we are sending in the body, right? Now let us quickly define this DTO. So what I will do, I'll come to book, I will add a new folder and I will mark it as DTOs. Okay, why a folder? Because create book, update book, both will go into this DTO, right? I'll say new file and I will say create book dot DTO dot ts, right? Okay, so what this will be? This will be a class, right? I will say create book DTO and it will have title of type string, okay, description of type string, ISBN is also going to be of type string, okay, price is going to be of type number, and pages, this is also going to be of type number, right? From where I have added this value, from these values, right? Title, description, ISBN, price, and pages, right? These are the parameters that my API expects, right? So similar to this, I created the DTO, right? So I will come here and I will import this one. Now coming to this body, it is very similar to param and query, okay, except it will not take any key, right? Why it will not take any key? Because it is the full object, right? We don't need any key. Okay, rest everything else will remain the same. That means it should have the data type and it should have the parameter index. Okay, so here I will add the decorator. So I'll say export function body, okay, and it won't take any parameter, right? And it will return the parameter decorator. It will return, okay, target, property key, and parameter index, right? This is very similar to what we have already done here, right? Here, we don't want to do any of this, right? Because we don't need to read the existing body and append to that, right? We will always have only one body object, one body parameter, right? So all I have to do is to store this particular index. Okay, we don't need the key and we don't need the type we can later figure out. Okay, all we want is this index, right? So here I will say reflect dot define metadata and it will be body index and value will be parameter index with respect to target dot constructor and property key. Okay, this is as simple as this one. Now I'll come to controller and I will import this body decorator. Now I'll come to app and we were doing the parameters and query. After that, we will add some logic. Okay. Now, what information do we need? So first, let us pick out the index. Okay. So const body param index equals to, okay, reflect dot get metadata. Okay, what metadata? Body index with respect to instance dot constructor and route dot handler, right? Then I will say if, okay, body parameter index is not equals to undefined. Okay, just a very basic handling. Why? Because all of my controller method might not have a body decorator, right? So here I am having a body, but in this delete I'll not have any body instance, right? So just to prevent from that, what I'm doing, I'm checking if body index is available, then only do this. Okay, so first the type, this is the DTO type. Okay, what this will be, reflect, okay, dot get metadata, and it will be design param types. This is very similar to what we were doing here, right? So instead of doing it here, I'm doing it there just by passing the body index. Okay, param type of instance and route dot handler. Okay, so this will give me the type. Now from this type, what I have to do, see, this will give me array, right? So that's why we were doing this parameter index, right? Because this param type was giving array of all the parameters that we are passing, right? So maybe I should name it as plural. Now in this array, where is my DTO sitting? On this parameter index, right? So const DTO class equals to types of body parameter index. Okay, so this is how I got the DTO class, right? This DTO class. Okay, then const DTO instance. Okay, now what is this? See, I'll just give you this example. Okay, const DTO instance equals to new. Okay, similar to this new DTO class. Okay, now just to make this example clear, what I can do, create book DTO. Okay, and here DTO instance dot title equals to request dot body dot title, right? And similarly, DTO instance dot description equals to request dot body dot description, right? Now this is what I want to achieve, right? Of course this is the hard coded instance, but ultimately this is what I want to achieve. I want to have a DTO instance and all the properties of that DTO instance should come from my request dot body. Okay, so of course this is manual way and this will work for create book DTO, but in real world example I can have any DTO, right? So I cannot hard code like this. So for that, what I will do, I'll use a function plain to instance. Okay, and this is coming from class transformer. Okay, so this will help me transform a particular class and an object to a instance of that class, right? So it will take the DTO class and it will take, okay, request dot body. Okay, so this will give me the DTO instance. Okay, and what I can do, I can say args of body parameter index equals to DTO instance. Now we are passing the args here to the controller. Okay, so now if I come here and if I do console.log of book, okay, so this book is now transformed into the DTO instance, okay, which is being added to this args and it is passed here, right? So now let me open the terminal. Okay, there is no error. So I will come here to create book and I will send a request, right? Then I will come to console, and if you see, we're getting undefined. Okay, now why is that so? So in Express, when we want to use the body, what we have to do? We have to add a additional .json middleware on Express, right? If you remember, I have shown this in my Express tutorial, right? So what we can do? We can create another private function, and I can say initialize Express. Okay, and here what I can do, this dot app dot use express dot json, right? And whatever other middlewares related to express, that we can initialize here. Okay, and after this express, this dot initialize express middlewares. Okay, we will save this one. We will come to console, and we will see there are no errors. We will come to postman. We'll send a request. Okay, we'll come to console, and we will see create book DTO, right? And it has all the value. See, it has all the values, right? So I will come to my code. Okay, and here I am able to get the book. Not only book, but I'm getting this auto suggestion. Okay, this is same as all the value that I'm sending from here, right? So see the advantage that I'm getting the book object along with the types or the type safety, so I can use whichever value I want along with the intelligence, right? Okay, now there is one more thing. So if you see here, the price is supposed to be a number, pages is supposed to be a number. So I want to add validation that the price, okay, should be a number, right? And the price should always be more than one or more than zero, right? The number of pages, that it should be more than zero, right? I cannot say zero pages or -1 pages, right? So I can say title of zero length, right? So I want to add that validation. So now, if you see here, I can pass pages as -1, right? And it will work, right? So I want to add that validation, and this create DTO is the best place to add such validation. And to achieve that, we are going to use our class validator. Okay, so that class validator exposes a lot of validation functions. Okay, so say for example, this title, it should be string. So I can say is string, and this will come from class validator. So all I have to do is just add it on top of our this property, right? Not only that, I can also say length. Okay, length should be 2 to 100. Just an example, right? Based on your need, you can add, you can update these values, right? And similarly, it should be is string. Okay, and for description, I don't want to add any restriction, right? So now it's up to you and your business need what type of validation you want to use, right? So here also I'm going to say is string. Okay, then the price, so this is going to be is number. Okay, and min of 1. Okay, this is my business need. Okay, so it should be minimum more than 1. And similarly page also, minimum it should have a 1 page. Okay, so I have added this validation. Now if I send a request, it has still not prevented this, right? Ideally, we should have some kind of error, right? Pages cannot be -1, right? Okay, so just adding these decorators is not enough. Okay, we have to add the validation. Okay, here in this DTO instance. Okay, let me show you. So after creating this DTO instance, we will say const error equals to validate. Okay, and this validate will come from class validator. Okay, it will validate DTO instance. Okay, with respect to what? With respect to these parameters, right? And if you see here, what this is returning, this is returning a promise. Okay, so we will await. Okay, and where we can await only on a async function, right? So where is this function? See, this function is this one, right? So I'll mark this as async. Okay, so now I can await. Okay, and if errors, or I can say, since this is an array, so I can say errors. Okay, errors dot length, okay, is greater than 0. That means there are some error. Okay, I will create a variable and I'll call it as formatted errors, because this error object, because this error variable is a array, right? So we should be able to map and create a meaning out of that, right? So errors dot map, okay, error return, okay, property error dot property, and constraints equals to error dot constraints. Okay, I'll show you what each of this means. Okay, and let me correct the spelling. Okay, and if this is the case, we can say return res dot status of error 400 dot json message. Okay, you can give a message, say for example validation failed. Okay, and errors of type formatted errors. Okay, then we will save this. Okay, we will come to our postman and we will send a request. See, message validation failed. Okay, errors property is which one? This property page. And what it is saying, pages must not be less than 1. Okay, and similarly, if I change the title length to only one character, right? If I send this, see, we are getting two properties. Title length must be longer than or equal to 2, and pages must be less than pages must not be less than 1, right? So we are getting this value, these errors, right? Now what you can do, instead of returning, okay, what you can do, you can throw a bad request error and you can create a class for that, right? Similar to what we were doing here, right? Throw new bad request error and you can pass those values, right? I leave that to you just as a task, right? And for the demonstration purpose, I'm keeping it like this. Okay, this is easy to read and you can understand it very easily when you check the repository, right? Now if I fix all my issues, okay, what you can do, it will allow me to send the request properly, right? And I'll be able to log and I'll be able to do whatever I want, right? Because I'm getting the intelligence. So I can put it to database, I can do a log, whatever value I want, I can do that with this. So I'm able to get the body as well, right? So now we don't have the dependency of request and response, right? And this ID to be deleted, this also expects a ID, right? So I can use params. Okay, so if I come here, I don't need this request response and router, right? So now this dependency is gone, and maybe this is also not needed, right? Perfect. So now my controller looks very clean, right? I have the necessary decorators, post, and inside that I have body, right? Put, and I have params, right? So now we are going towards building our own framework, right? A lot of things are still pending. So far, if you have liked this video, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.